Welcome to Club Soda's Mindful Drinking Festival. We're online, global, and as always, absolutely free. Hi, I'm Drew, and I'm one of the co-founders of Club Soda.
And I'm Laura, the other co-founder of Club Soda. We help you change your drinking in ways that help you live well. So whether you're looking to cut down, stop for a bit, or quit, you can find what you need from podcasts and books and courses on joinclubsoda.com. This festival, we've brought you an amazing lineup from over 100 people from across the world.
And our programme this time really is global.
Every day starts down under with me, Sarah. As well as organising the festival in Australia, I spend my time looking for alcohol-free alternatives and tips for people who choose not to drink, but who still want to live a social, fun and adventurous life.
And I'll be wrapping up each day here in the States. I'm Amanda, your US festival host and coordinator, and I'm also a mindset coach who helps women change their relationship with alcohol so that they can start living their most authentic life.
Each day with a rolling programme of inspirational panels, conversations, social events, and opportunities to discover new low and low alcohol drinks.
So whether you want inspiration to change your drinking,
Or to connect with other people,
or you want to discover and enjoy a new low and no alcohol drink,
The Mindful Drinking Festival is for you.
cheers!
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 cheers.
Hello.
Cheers.
Hey, Shanna,
Hi,
how are
Andy.
you?
I'm very, very well indeed. Hi from the bush to you. How are
Hello.
you tonight?
Hello from Sydney. I'm very, very good. So for everybody who's watching the live stream, my name's Andy Moore. I'm the CEO of Hello Sunday Morning. And I'm privileged to have with me Shanna Whan, who really is the embodiment of that saying, be the change you want to see. For everybody who's watching the stream, we're just going to have a very informal chat, which loosely will cover who we are, a little bit about our organisations, our journeys to date, because we've both got a bit of a backstory, our key challenges, and especially kind of, I guess, the discussions that and the impacts of drinking culture during COVID, and a little bit about the hope and what the future looks like. So just as we go through, please send through your questions, and I'll do my best to bring them into the conversation. So, Shanna, over to you.
Hey,
wanna
you
give us
get
a big-
extra points. Can I just say, you said Shanna Whan and you said it right. So I'm loving you sick right now.
Roger's been really prepping me on that. He said, don't get it wrong.
Oh, fair income. Story of my life.
Do you want
So,
to just
yeah.
give us a bit of background about Sober in the Country?
Yeah. And can I just say, it's such an honour for people who are watching, wherever you are, hello. And please feel free to tell us where you're from in the comments. It's so nice for us to know that, because it just gives us a bit of an idea. I think it was 6 years ago I first reached out to Hello Sunday Morning. And it's such an honour to be co-hosting and sort of, aligned with one of my most respected organisations. So some of you may be going, who the hell is Sober in the Country? Some of you may know who we are. We're a bush charity, a grassroots rural charity started by moi. I'm a country woman myself, and I have a story of addiction as well. And I decided to be the change, and to summarise it, our mission and our focus as this charity is to teach Aussie mates in the bush that it's okay to say no to a beer. That's our real purpose, but it's a bit more complicated than that, how we got here, but that's what we're aiming for, changing the bush culture, and it's a big, big challenge, Yeah.
Cool. And just by way of brief background, Hello Sunday Morning is also a young charity. We've been running 10 years now, not long, probably a week or two, probably a month longer than 10 years. And we were set up as well just to just focus on people who wanted to change their relationship with alcohol, we have a main support service called Daybreak, which is an app, and that's kind of a peer support, anonymous. It's a safe place where people can talk about their own challenges, and we kind of recognise that every person's journey is different. We don't dictate anybody what that journey looks like in terms of alcohol change. I've got a bit of a backstory as well. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell, really. It is a complicated issue, but that's our summary. So do you want to just give us a little bit of your backstory, Shanna, and your kind of motivation of why you wanted to set up Sober in the Country?
Yeah, I would be honoured to. I would absolutely love that. So I personally identify as a recovered alcoholic. Some people don't use that word anymore. Some people say alcohol use disorder, whatevs, Trevs, whatever works for you. We're a bit like you guys at Hello Sunday Morning. We don't advocate or push for one size fits all. So sometimes when I speak, I'll speak as Shanna Whan, who nearly died nearly 6 years ago from alcoholism, and other times I'll speak as the CEO of Sober in the Country. So Shanna Whan, me, I was a raging alcoholic, and I nearly did lose my life. And just pop that into a quick 30-second sentence. You know, and the thing is, this is not an uncommon story. My story is not uncommon. And what happened in my particular story was, as a woman living rurally and remotely most of my life, we've never had access to decent services or support, usually, you know, within our own towns or close by. And we've never had certainly the luxury of a range of things, or just even anywhere to go that makes sense. So when I had to go sober in the country, it was absolutely insanely overwhelming. I tried and failed many things for many years, including I started a recovery support meeting in my little country town, which nobody came to, because now I understand you can't be anonymous in a small country town. So I spent two and a half years baking scones and opening a building and bouncing around praying that someone would come and hang out with me, and pretty much no one ever did. So, you know, it's a true story with so many failures and so many false starts. But all I knew is that I had a mandate in my heart to not quit trying to help other people. God, I tried so many things. And in the end, I went, righto, blow this for a joke. I'm just going to have to start speaking about this on social media and go public, because it's going to have an impact, because everyone will be dying of curiosity, if nothing else. And basically what began as a blog and just me sharing very carefully, very cautiously, very respectfully. I think I was 3 years into my sobriety before I even dared to go into the public arena, because I really needed people to know I had some time up and it was a little bit credible, etc. But the response was so swift and so unbelievable that, yeah, here we are, 2020. We are now a registered national Australian charity. And because nobody is looking at our demographic, we're gaining very quick traction. And it's not because I'm anything remarkable or extraordinary. It's because nobody looks at our demographic. And I've been very clear since I established this organisation that we are here with a laser focus for rural, regional and remote Aussies. And but happily, we're impacting a hell of a lot of other people. But we just have a really clear focus, and we're in our lane and we're just doing our thing. And we work alongside Hello Sunday Morning and share the same values, the same principles, actually. And so complement each other really nicely.
Yeah. And, you know, I think as well, I mean, there are so many stories out there. I mean, I was, you know, I never thought I really had a problem with alcohol at all. And I was, you know, it's funny, really. I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 26, and I changed a lot in my life, huge amount in my life. But the one thing I didn't change or even look at, or even was even on my radar, was alcohol at the age of 26. And then, you know, things happen and you get more stress in your life, and alcohol becomes a little bit more insidious and creeps in a little bit more and more and more. And I think in 2011, it just got to the point where it was too much. And there was a kind of a collision of my private life and my public life and my work life all at the same time. And even up to that point, though, I kind of knew that it was just doing me no good, mostly mentally, but also physically. And you do know you always know that it's not good for you. Yet you have this kind of social kind of environment that sits around you, kind of telling you that actually no, it's all normal, it's all fine. You can just carry on.
You're
you know,
right.
pat on the back for doing the right, for drinking. And even my friends were like, the first thing that we would talk about, when we were going for a bike ride or whatever we were doing, did you have a drink last night? And it was the conversation constantly. And I wanted to give up so many times, and I think it wasn't until probably 2015, 2016 I haven't given up completely, but certainly my relationship with alcohol has changed dramatically. And I think the big thing for me, and I don't know what it's like for you, but the big thing for me was when I was drinking, alcohol was just on my mind all the time. I was either thinking about drinking or I was thinking about not drinking. But either way, I was thinking about drinking all the time. It just dominated my thinking. And now I don't. Now I don't at all. And that's just the most amazing thing. And I think the thing for me that really changed that was that I had support around me of people who wanted me to stop and gave me that support. And I think that's exactly what we are here for in terms of our own charities, is that we're trying to provide that support and that place, 100%. That safe place, that kind of non-judgmental space where people can talk about not drinking in a place where there's no stigma and there's no judgment. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Do you think that?
Everything you've just said times two. It's beautiful. I love how you've just succinctly summarized it. I feel the same. And what you said a minute ago about connection. When I very first got into sobriety, I was so isolated, not just geographically, but socially. I was just, I didn't know where the hell to go. And I don't know if anyone here's listening is from the bush, but oh my God, in the country, we literally worship and revere, and we love alcoholic drinking in country Australia. And believe me, I led that charge fairly fiercely with the best of them. So when you step away from that culture, you're so damn isolated, and it's like, where do I belong? Where do I fit? And so our charity, right, is just one small, imperfect human, i.e. me. I just wanted to create a place where other people who identify as rural or remote, who get how hard that is, could hang out together. Because I don't know if you've seen, Andy, on our website, my foundational quote that I chose for the website is by Desmond Tutu. And it's such a beautiful quote. It says, there comes a point where we've got to stop pulling people out of the river when they've drowned. We've got to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. And our mates in the bush, and anywhere I understand, but I always speak from our perspective, we're falling in long before we drown, and it's because of this worship of the booze culture. And when a Shanna or an Andy or whoever pops up who's clearly got predisposition to addiction or has a trauma or whatever their reason is that they've fallen into grey area drinking, or in my case, escalated to chronic alcoholism, there's nowhere for them to go. And thank God for technology. Honestly, it is a savior. We are changing and saving lives through nothing more complex than giving people a place to connect. It's so simple, isn't it? It's so beautiful.
It is.
So simple.
Just talk to me about, because I think people don't quite realise if they haven't lived in Australia or even in Australia in urban environments, people don't quite realise the challenges that people living in rural and remote have. Because if you look at all the health statistics are not good, and a lot of that is around it's around isolation. But also, there's this stoicism in the bush as well of not wanting to kind of seek help as well, isn't there? So there's all these things that kind of stack against it, really. Is that kind of a fair reflection?
Oh, it's very fair. Yeah, we're up against the wall in multiple ways. There's no doubt about it. E.g., I always use my own story because I can't get into trouble. Like when I had to learn how the hell to become sober, I had to drive 300 Ks to my nearest AA meeting. There's one example of a challenge. Second example, tried to start a recovery support meeting. nobody came, everyone knows everybody.
Yeah.
Third challenge is we are literally, our entire culture in rural Australia is built on getting together at the pub for a few beers. Now, it's not actually the pub that's the problem. That's just a building. It's the culture that the only thing you can do in that pub is drink beer and get really, really drunk. And that's just so embedded in our rural culture. And, you know, and it's just... And often people out here will go for days or weeks on end, and they might be, you know, 100 Ks, 200 Ks away from a mate. And when they get together, everyone's socially excited. Yeah, there's a whole unique set of parameters that rural and regional remote people face. And I think that because we're a minority in the sense of, you know, we are a small part of the population, we just tend to get overlooked in terms of resources or funding or awareness. And I do believe that's the reason why our little charity has just suddenly after 15,000 hours of me volunteering cracked open, you know, because sobriety is starting to gather momentum, which is amazing. But I tell you what, I reckon we'll be the last men standing. The bush men really, really resist change because it's how they've grown up. They're tough, they work hard, they play hard, they do deals over the bar, they trade stock over the bar. It's just in our psyche. And so if we can just shift them from having a schooner to having a non-alcoholic beverage, as a plug, wouldn't that be amazing? You know, it's not rocket science. We're not saying don't go to the pub. We're not saying you're evil and bad if you drink. We're like you guys, you know, we don't demonize our mates who love a drink. We don't care about that. We're just so keen on making massive steps in supporting our mates who can't and just including them socially. Because as it stands, if you go to an event in the country, if Andy Moore was to walk up to the rugby grand final or to the picnic races in the middle of a big dusty paddock 500 k's from nowhere, and if you were to go to the bar and say, may I have a sparkling water with lemon, you'd probably get laughed at. Yes. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, but and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. No one caters for us. No one even thinks about the non-drinker. And the obligatory drinks on offer are just for pregnant people or the unfortunate drivers. So we're
And are you seeing any kind of I guess you know, people in the bush have just got so many challenges, not just COVID's probably the least of their worries at the moment because it's mainly an urban disease. But I mean, are you seeing any change at the moment during COVID, or was that really kind of hit during the drought more than anything?
Oh, do you know what? The funny thing is with COVID-19, I've got to tell you, I've got some gratitude around COVID. And before anyone gets wildly offended, I'll explain why that is. Isolation is our normal. And for many years, I've been banging on to our politicians and our leaders and our health leaders, you name it. I've been banging on and saying, guys, it's really hard to overcome addiction in isolation. Can you help us? Can you listen to what we're doing here? It's really important. And thus far, there's been very little response from that. But we know that here in the sobriety community. And so COVID didn't necessarily impact our isolation, but it has impacted businesses and it has impacted trade across the nation. And the rise of stress and uncertainty is awful. We all have that in common. I feel in some ways, Andy, we're lucky because I can walk out the door and have fresh air on tap. We have space and we have fresh air, and I am stupidly, ridiculously thankful for that because I would not cope being locked down in a city. So, you know, COVID-19 has actually done us a very big favour in the sense that it has forced our city cousins into the position of having to understand how incredibly hard it is to get help in isolation, because that is what we've been faced with our whole lives. It's the same, but it's different. So
we're seeing that. I mean, we're seeing that with we've seen it in a number of ways. We've done some research. We know probably about 20% of people we've surveyed are drinking more during COVID, and we know people are drinking more often alone as well. And that's, you know, and we're also seeing a change in terms of you know, this change from binge drinking, which was probably, you know, more related to kind of going out and, you know, getting wasted, to habitual daily drinking. And that's
Yep.
the big change that we're seeing
Yeah.
at the moment. And that's a lot of that is driven by stress. You know, people used to drink pre-COVID for boredom or whatever, but now it's anxiety and stress, and that's down to and there's so many impacts that has on the family and the family environment and what have you. Yeah, and health. And so we've seen big increase in members on Daybreaker, our online app as well, like a big surge. And even in the last week, we've had over 1,000 members join Daybreaker just in 1 week. And that's you know, I think we're at a kind of a really funny point at the moment in terms of COVID, in the fact that we thought we were all through it, and everyone thought it would be this short, sharp kind of thing. And now there's this realization that, oh God, it's going to be longer. It's going to be, and even people around me, I'm starting to see people struggle a lot more. And I think, certainly our services are going to be needed even more so in the future. And I think the message for us, for government, is, they need our help. We need to be there for them, to support them. The government needs to support us to be able to do that. Because we're an essential
100%.
service, crucial
100 million trillion %. Absolutely. There should be no question mark around funding to you guys. And that's possibly a nice segue for me to reiterate that our charity is grassroots. It's not government funded. We receive no government support. We did try for quite a long time, and it's been pretty heartbreaking actually, to consistently try and prove how essential this is. And so, again, we're so grateful that there's Hello Sunday Morning and orgs like you guys and Smart Recovery, Alcoholics Anonymous Online, so many other incredible programs and online support services are out there, but we need more. And no, as we spoke about, and Laura and us spoke about before we came on air, there's no one size that fits all. We need to have a beautiful little toolkit ready to go for people so they can, dip in and grab what makes sense to them and get to work and not be so overwhelmed. Because the beautiful thing is, if we can go upstream and catch people, we're changing and saving lives through connection. It's just ridiculously, like I said, simple. It's so simple. And that isolation. I don't know, Andy, have you ever seen that brilliant TED talk called The Opposite of Addiction is Connection? Have you seen that one by any chance?
No.
Someone who's seen that comment on the name of the fellow, I think it's someone, John Hurry something, I don't know. Anyway, it's a TED talk. The opposite of addiction is connection. And it's such an incredibly logical, sensible concept. None of us can do this alone. None of us can overcome addiction in isolation, but we do have this little screen, and even us bushies can grab a connection through a screen. Hooray for technology. And it's really overwhelming, because where the hell are we going as a country? What are we doing? Where's this going to end?
I mean, that's the thing at the moment, isn't it? If you really think about it, and this is the thing that I find quite hard, and this is the challenge for us both and many other organisations, is we have to find a way to kind of normalise non-drinking in society. I know we've given people a place to do that in our own kind of little areas, but we're just the tip of the iceberg, really. Like if you even look at, I mean, what's going on at the moment? You can basically order alcohol online. You can have it delivered within the next 2 hours. But if you've got this kind of hankering, if you are an addiction, then that can kind of happen. I think we've lost. Shanna.
She's disappeared. I'm going to pop in and say hello. That's a rural internet connection for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
She's coming
Another
back.
thing the government need to fund.
There you go, Shanna. I'm going to leave again.
Sorry,
Carry on. It's okay.
Cool. Sorry, Andy. Sorry, my darling. Do you know what happened just then? I went to answer a chat and it booted me out. Sorry, guys. Welcome back.
That's all right.
Sorry, darling.
So I think what we're talking about government access to alcohol now, isn't it?
And how you can just grab it online.
You can grab it now. So if you've got, if you've got an addiction, you can just ring up now, and or just order it on your app or whatever. And this just makes it too easy for people. And if you remember when we started and entered into COVID, and there was a list of essential services, bottle shops were part of essential services, essentially, which is just crazy.
Did you delve into why that might be, or was I the only one being May I go there?
Yeah, go for it.
I like to go there, as you know. This is my take on it. I could never prove it in a court of law, but it's been thrown around by many, many people. I think in a way our leaders were snookered on that one. If they had shut down bottle shops, there would have A, been anarchy, B, civil war, C, anarchy, D, civil war.
Yeah.
Then the next potential massive drama would have been undiagnosed alcoholics in chronic addiction wouldn't have been able to access booze. Now, those poor souls would have crashed the healthcare system and ended up in emergency, in withdrawals. So, in a way, and I've said this in blogs and it's a bit rowdy and politically incorrect of me, but hey, what are you going to say about that? I've said that I believe that when our leadership declared bottle shops an essential service, that was kind of a passive way of acknowledging that Australia's got an alcohol problem.
Yep.
Sorry, but is there any other way for that to be?
Yeah, and I think you're right there. I mean, I guess the time not to shut that off is during the crisis. If you're going to do that, you do it slowly and over time. You don't do it at the last minute in the middle of a crisis. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
so
they were snookered, you know. So I feel sorry for them in a way. They couldn't have done anything right there. They would have been damned if they did and damned if they didn't. Yeah.
I've just got a question. Let me just have a quick read it. Do you think that during the pandemic, there is much difference in the struggle between people living in the city and people living in remote areas and the way that they're coping with it?
What do you think, Andy, or do you want me to grab that one?
Is there much difference in the struggle between people living in the city and people living in? I think I don't know. I mean, I did 4 years at the Flying Doctor Service, which is rural and remote health as well. So I know I've seen the struggles that people have and the isolation that people have, and but I also see the stoicism and the reluctance to actually seek help as well. And I think probably the difference is that you know, and you can see that in mental health issues as well. That there aren't more mental health issues in the bush, but there are more acute cases because people will present later, and I think that's probably part of it. And so I think there's probably more of a reluctance to seek help, but there's probably certainly there's in urban societies this kind of groundswell of talking about these things are probably a little bit easier for people than rural and remote people. But I don't know. That's kind of my opinion on it.
Did we touched on this the other day when we were doing our homework, because all good CEOs do their homework, and we were having a bit of a yarn about that, and I sort of felt like. And you've hit the nail on the head when you say that stoicism. Country people, and I'm so reluctant to sound like, oh, we're so tough and hard done by. It's not about that. It's not about that. We bloody love living out here. I would not swap it for the world. But the simple fact is, conditions can get really hardcore. And in the last decade, for example, and I don't know if anyone from the UK or the city who's listening here can even possibly imagine the drought that we've just come through in the last decade. It was soul destroying on a level that you cannot even wrap your head around. It was just so frightening and so relentless. And thank God we've got a bit of green stuff happening at the moment, and there's a few crops in the ground. And but how long is stoic enough? And this is what concerns me. And again, I don't mean to harp on about, say, funding and government support and whatnot, but I sort of look from this perspective out west, and I think, well, it's kind of it's a bit of a scary thing to think that 4%, I don't know if you know this stat, Andy, but 4% feeds the rest of the nation. And we have a finite group of skilled men and women and hardworking, tough, amazing, resilient people, crazy buggers like me who are prepared to get up and show up and go to work and earn nothing for 6 years. That's what I did to get this charity started. We are made of pretty tough stuff. We're quite hard to kill. And, you know, it's just no one wants handouts. Nobody wants, soft options. We just want to be seen and heard so that when, and this is the critical thing, and you and I know this better than anybody, Nothing can be done for somebody struggling who doesn't acknowledge or want or accept a hand anyway. So it's very, very heartbreaking that when a really tough, amazing country person, particularly our men, I have such a soft place in my heart for men in this conversation, because girls can talk much better than country blokes anyway. So when a country bloke is on his knees and says, I need a hand, you guys, I need a hand, and he reaches out, there's no hand to be had. It is utterly the most soul-destroying thing you will ever see happen. And when that bloke pursues support and pursues help and gets no, and I can't go here and I can't afford that and I can't leave my property to go and spend a month in rehab, where do I go? Or the other end of the spectrum is a man will go sober in the country and then become socially ostracized because he's not at the pub anymore and his mates are uncomfortable. So our advocacy and my heart and soul, like day and night, beats for people like that, to just raise awareness and have the hard chats and say, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? We're not doing this well, and we've got to do a hell of a lot better. I get I'm really emotional when I talk about that stuff, because I've seen it firsthand. I've seen men climb out of suicidal depression and give up grog and get better, only to find themselves isolated because they've given up grog.
We've got a question that's come through. Has the Aussie drinking culture got better or worse over the last 10 years, in your opinion?
Yours or mine or ours?
Both of ours. I mean, I can kick off on this one. I mean, look, it's hard to tell generally. Personally, I think it's kind of an exciting time, because you're starting to see this groundswell starting to come through, and people are starting to more willing to talk about it. And people who choose not to drink or go out and not have a drink is becoming more common, certainly in kind of urban environments as I've seen it. And so this kind of, and you had it with tobacco, it took so long for when, I think it was in the 1960s, the first research came out with tobacco to say it was killing people. It wasn't until the 90s that anybody really did anything about it, and it took that long for it to change. It takes a long time, but we're starting to see this kind of groundswell, and also the research that came out from the Institute of Health and Welfare around young people. Young people are now drinking less as well, and that will hopefully change from the bottom up. That this kind of generational change will hopefully, but I'm seeing change, but it's still such a drop in the ocean at the moment. There's such a long way to go.
No shortage of work ahead for us, is there?
No.
I was going to say, I think that I've noticed on social media, because I am our social media. I do everything. Thanks to the support of my mate Flip. Hi, Flip. There's two of us. People think we have a head office and a team of 20 people. No, we do not. But we will. You wait. Anyway, but I want it to be that way as well, right? Because I want to have my finger on the pulse the whole way. I want to know exactly what's going on while we build this thing. And I've noticed that on the social media channels, there's a lot less flippancy and cruel, heartless kind of yucky comments that social media is an awful place, isn't it? God, people can be awful. Yuck. So, for example, not that long ago, 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I might make a comment about not drinking or whatever, and you could almost bet your bloody bottom dollar that some Wally would jump on there and say, quitting's for losers, or giving up grog's for losers. Just that boring, predictable response. It's like, oh my God, eyeball rolling moment. But it was very common, right? You'd see that all the time. Blokes going, oh, hey, tagging their friend and saying, look at these losers and what they're up to. And you have to learn to be big enough and brave enough to just go past that and keep in your lane and just keep positive and professional. Not always easy. But what I've noticed is in the last year in particular, whether it's, say, for example, when our Australian Story episode went to air, I can't tell you how scared I was. And for those who may not know, Australian Story is a really well-regarded documentary production in Australia about stories. And they did a story on myself and my husband and our story and establishing this charity and whatnot. I've got to tell you, I was beside myself with anxiety. when that went to air, I was waiting for trolls. I was just waiting for the very worst of humanity, because we've all seen it, haven't we, online? And putting yourself out there is terrifying.
It is. It is.
It's so terrifying.
Yeah.
Anyway, and you know what? People have become a lot more civilized. And I think that because we're doing so much groundwork to open up this space and this chat anyway, we're setting a pretty good tone and we're leading by example. And I think people are starting to really respect these chats a lot more. So I think there has been a big shift in awareness, but to take it from awareness and chats into change and differences in health and outcomes and less deaths and prevention of people getting to addiction, that's where we've got lots and lots of work ahead. Yeah.
So I've just got another question. If you could give some advice to the next generation around alcohol, what would you say to them? Mine would be, that's a really tough one. I think for me, it's such an insidious thing. You've just got to be ultra vigilant with it all the time. The old adage that you've got to have balance in your life is the main thing. And I think when it's getting out of hand. My wife will say, if you're going to drink to your kind of happy stage, and that's it, no more. And that's what she says to her kids. So trying to avoid them in terms of binge drinking and so on and so forth. But the hard thing about this is that the next generation are still being bombarded by messages that are encouraging them to drink, and it's cool to drink, and it's normal to drink. So that's what we're fighting against, is that all that sort of stuff in the industry that's just really on top of this, and pushing and peddling and making sure that that people are starting, and in the way that did with tobacco, is start them young and keep them around for as long as they possibly can. That's the frightening thing.
Yeah, big alcohol's got a lot to answer for. That's for sure.
Yeah, it has. What would you say to your next generation about drinking?
Oh, look, God, honestly, great question, hey? I used to enjoy that tragic irony is that it was Robin Williams who said this. He said, if you need to drink or drug to have a good time, something's not right. Something's not okay. Just to teach our kids that there's freedom and in getting together with your mates without having to be bluted, I think they call it in Scotland. I've been reading a book and I think it's bluted. Oh my God, it's my favorite new word. I don't know if that's a word, bluted.
I've never heard of that before, but
cool. I laugh my head off. But you don't have to do that. But you know what? We all have to make our own way and we all have to make our own mistakes. But I think that if we can go before these beautiful, young, precious humans coming behind us and save them the misery, I think the way we do that best is sharing our stories and sharing our truth and doing exactly what we're doing, Andy. Yeah. I think we're doing it. But don't get drunk. It's really overrated.
It's overrated.
You'll do dumb stuff. Listen to Amish
you'll regret it. Yeah,
you really will.
Yeah. And these days you can capture it on a phone as well, so don't do it.
Yeah. Oh my God, how lucky are we that we did not have mobile phones?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I'd be in big trouble.
All sorts of problems. Yeah, absolutely. So what do we need to do, Shanna, to change the world now? What do we need to do to make sure our future generations have a better opportunity to make the right choices?
Collaborate. Oh my gosh, there's an amazing line about, it's a quote from somewhere about something about, what the leaders don't want is for us to all get together and work together, because a lot of people stay rich from drugs and alcohol and gambling. And I'm sorry to say it, but profit is a driver of a lot of this. So collectively, if we all work together and have a united front to call that out and say, you know what, it's actually not okay. We don't need people. We lose 6,000 people every year in Australia to grog. We have 160,000 ending up in hospitals. I think our leaders are not doing enough in this space. I'll say that point blank. I don't think they're doing anywhere near enough. I think it's appalling, actually, because if they responded in the same way that they did to crises like viruses or methamphetamines and festival pills and whatnot, we could see some serious change. So I think until they're prepared to have that hard chat, and it is bloody hard and it's not a vote getter, when we're going to have to lead for them. And I think collectively we are doing that, and we just need to keep doing it in a non-judgmental, friendly, inclusive way, and just keep leading really strongly from the front. Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit bizarre, isn't it, when you think about it? Like the focus on drugs But the comparison between drugs and the impact that it has on society, and alcohol and the impact it has on society, is just dramatically different.
Yeah. So hard.
So we've got it a little bit wrong. We've only probably got about a minute left, I think.
Okay.
So do you want to do a
Should we do the
shameless
plugs?
plug? Yeah, do a shameless plug.
Let's
for
plug
it.
away. And they're not going to boot us off until we've plugged 8. Is that that's the promise they made, isn't
just
it?
get it in just in case.
Yeah, guys. So basically, you can find us at www.soberinthecountry.org. And just a reminder there, all our socials are linked in there. Like I said, grassroots, bush charity. We're here for a laser focused group and demographic. But if we can help you, and if our very authentic, down-to-earth conversations make sense, come and hang out and join us. And if you feel like you could support us, like I said, we don't have government funding or support. So all the support is wonderful, even just sharing. We've got a call to action in our helping tab on the website, 8 ways to help. Share it, give us a hand, get in the trenches with us. We need all the help we can get to do this together. And may I just say thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, to these amazing legends at Club Soda, and to you, Andy.
Cool. And my shameless plug is go to hellosundaymorning.org. That's our website. If you want to get on the app, download Daybreak. It's a safe space where you can talk about all your issues and challenges that you have, and you'll get the support that you need, and you'll get a really positive kind of vibe and environment, be able to make the change that you want to change. So get online and do that. We're a charity. We're a small charity. We need a lot of support. As Shanna said, we need to do this collaboratively. So the more that we work together, the better. I think we need to kind of call of arms on this one, I think.
Absolutely. And that's, on a finishing note, I would have to say that this is a tiny industry, and we really look out for each other, and it's bloody beautiful, actually, watching people come together and connect in this. It's really amazing. And I reckon we've got to keep working really hard to keep it a really schmick industry that looks after people and has people before profit,
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody who's taken the time to listen to us today. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope everybody else enjoyed it.
Yeah. Toodle pip from the bush. Have a great night, everybody.